Unlike fanny packs, bowl cuts, and troll dolls, the sensation is back, only at Zaxby's. The Sensation Salad and the new Sensation Filet Sandwich features hand-breaded chicken, Asian slaw, wonton strips, and citrus vinaigrette, and both are served with an egg roll. The Sensation Salad and the new Sensation Filet Sandwich meal for a limited time only at Zaxby's. And skip the line when you order ahead on the Zaxby's app or on Zaxby's.com.
From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up!
WarChant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up War Chant, presented by Zaxby's.
Now here's WarChant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
And Corey Clark.
Wake up! What's up, everybody? It's Wake Up War Chant presented by Zaxby's. I'm Aslan. Corey Clark here as well. We are part of the WarChant.com family. Use the promo code WarChant30 for 30 free days of access at the ultimate Seminole sports source. If you're a student, email support@warchant.com from your student email address, and that will get you a promo code for $12. That'll get you 12 months of access to WarChant.com. That's the big boon there. Corey, we are going to talk about Florida State football. That's what we do on this show, but we got to talk a little bit about Zaxby's first. Would Zaxby's have made you feel any better about yourself late Saturday night? Well, not yourself, but I guess the state of the union, if you will.
Right. Yeah, I don't even know if Zaxby's could do the trick. Maybe, but I would doubt it. I don't know if a prime rib could do anything for me right now, buddy. It's not going to change what we saw.
Yeah. Shout out to Big Z, the winner of the Zaxby's cartoon race on the Jumbotron at Doak. So Big Z was
that
my
was
guy.
big.
So we're starting on Fridays. We do this over-under, and our good friends at Zaxby's have helped us make it a giveaway contest. So we do the over-unders. There's 7 propositions, if you will, and we're doing it to where whoever gets the best score, if you will, from you folks that listen to the show, the folks on warchant.com as well, top 5 get either a free salad or 5 golden fried chicken fingers. So we have our first set of winners. We posted it on the Tribal Council. This is also open to Twitter, but nobody at Twitter seemed to have gone 6 out of 7. Nobody aced it, Corey, but we did get 4 folks who scored 6 out of 7. It was ATL, SF Knoll, Dogman0215, Knoll War Daddy, and Knoll Fan number 1. We had a whole bunch of folks that went 5 of 7, so my tiebreaker was whoever submitted first. Right? Early bird gets the worm, right? That's fair.
That's fair.
So it was Island Chief. So you folks know, because I've tweeted at you or I've messaged you on War Chant. Get back to me. Let me know if you want a free salad or 5 chicken fingers, complimentary at Tallahassee area, as well as Mariana, Thomasville, and Douglas, Georgia locations. So thanks again to our friends at Zaxby's. We're also going to have some other cool things to probably give away, but we don't want to give that away yet. So Corey, over under, you and I, by the way. So I had to go ahead and kind of make an executive decision. I couldn't find anything officially that registered the temperature at kickoff. Gene set it at 97.5. I went ahead and made the executive decision that we were going to say that was an over, that they hit the over.
I feel like that's fair. I think everything we saw in the stadium on our phones, it said 98 or 99. So, yeah, we won that one.
All right, so tackles by Hamsa, 8.5 was the line. You took the under. I took the over. Hamsa had 10 tackles. Sacks. The number was 3.5. We both took the over, and we were wrong. It was the under. Only 1 sack via Corey Durden. ULM first downs, 19. We both took the over. We were right because ULM had 26 of those. The attendance, 62,500. We both took the under. We were correct. I think the announced attendance was a shade under 53,000. Again, temperature at kickoff, 97.5. We both said over. We were both correct. Cam Akers, rushing yards, 121 yards. I said over. You said under. He went over. And then total points scored, 63.5. You said under. I said over. That now puts me +4 on the season, I think. Yeah,
man,
+4.
I'm down. I got a long way to go.
Yeah, so while everybody likes you more than they like me, hopefully they start realizing I know more than you do, Corey.
Exactly right.
All right, let's talk about the game, Corey. 45-44 victory for Florida State, or rather a loss for ULM. I don't want to quite characterize that as a victory for Florida State because there really wasn't much to feel good about. They had to go to overtime with the Sun Belt team, not even a good Sun Belt team, and they needed an extra point in overtime to prevail. There's so many ways to kind of, steer the ship, if you will. But let's maybe kind of start positive and then, be realistic here. The offense looked better. I mean, the offense continues to look better than it did last season. Would you agree with that sort of sentiment, Corey?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Of course. You just look at the numbers and look at what Akers is doing and look how the offensive line is at least average. They're giving him some holes, and Blackman's not getting killed every time he throws it, and Akers does have holes to run through. But they also, I don't know what the deal is, man. You scored 21 points on your first 3 drives, and immediately when something goes wrong for that offense, oh man, we got a 3 and out. Can you believe that? I guess we'll get 6 more. You know what I mean? Like, how does that happen again? How does it happen again? That you go up and down the field and you look like you could score 90. And then you have 1 3 and out, and it turns to 2 or 3 and outs, then it turns into a ridiculous pick 6. Ridiculous because you're just not on the same page with the receiver, or probably more accurately, the receiver wasn't on the same page as you. An even more ridiculous fumble. And then you just really start to panic, because that's where I know this was supposed to start positive, but that's where these players are. That's what this program is. It is a panic zone. Immediately when something starts going wrong, they just wilt. They run away and hide. Oh, you turned it over at midfield? Well, I guess we'll just let them go right down the field and score. Oh, you let them go right down the field and score? Well, I guess we'll just go with 3 and out because we wouldn't want to answer with the touchdown of our own. Like, that's just how that's the makeup of this team, man. I say it a lot, but it's the DNA. They're just, I don't know. What would they have done if Cam Akers had decided to, what are they going to do next year? Yeah. Cam Akers is gone. 15 is gone. What are you going to do? They won that game because they had the best player on the field in number 3. Well, they won the game because the kid missed an extra point. They were only in the game because they had the best player on the field in number 3.
I was about to tweet, Cam Akers didn't come to Florida State University to bail out a coach that didn't even recruit him, but that's pretty much what he ended up doing on September 7th, 2019. But I thought that was maybe a little bit too rude. It's incredible that, his, performance is kind of what kept this whole thing afloat. And the crazy thing, though, is I don't even know how it could be that much worse. And I didn't want to start off on a negative note, but I guess it's hard to kind of avoid the elephant.
I mean, we don't need positive, man. Cam Akers is awesome. He's a joy to watch. He cares. You watch him on the sideline. He's talking to the defensive players. He's trying to pick up Blackman. He's involved and he's invested. That's the only positive you can take from that game on Saturday. So we might as well just be all negative. We already talked about Zaxby's. That's the positive part of this program.
Well, I did want to talk about the fact that this offensive line, we mentioned they needed to stop being the worst. Like, don't be the worst in Power 5. Just be below average almost. But I think this is an average to above average offensive line. It's crazy that they scored, 30 whatever points, 38 points if my math doesn't fail me, 38 points in regulation with Abdul Bello playing left tackle. Like, could you imagine this team with Abdul Bello playing left tackle last season, what they would have done with Walt Bell or Willie calling the plays? And you kind of, clarified that sort of or crystallized that for me as we were going down in the elevator from the press box. So those are the things that, to me, that are encouraging. But again, to your point, I guess, is why do they keep hitting all these stumbling blocks? And I think the stat that I had on Kendall was, in about 4 years, roughly, of him being an offensive coordinator and a primary play caller, only 30 quarters overall were scoreless. And some of those were games against Kansas, Iowa State, teams when they were blowing these teams out, and you're kind of calling the dogs off in the third and fourth quarters. I mean, 30 quarters over 40 years or over 4 seasons. That's about seven quarters a season. Man, we're already at 3. In game 2, they were shut out the entire second half against Boise. They didn't put any points up in the third quarter. They rallied and put 14 up in the fourth quarter. So, I just think there's so many things right now with this program that are going wrong, and it's not fair to put it all on Willie because he's not calling the plays anymore, and it's maybe not, quote, his offense. But there's just a lack of toughness, a lack of focus, a lack of accountability that I think has to start with him in the way they conduct practice and the way they conduct the program right now. And that's not going to change in the middle of the season despite everybody clamoring for a change. I don't know how the defense someone getting sacked on that side of the ball is going to do a massive turnaround. It's a helpless, frustrating feeling, I imagine, right now for Florida State fans that are heavily invested in this program. And
if they're listening to this, you have to imagine they are heavily invested. I guess you could be a casual Florida State fan and just enjoy our repartee. But I think most people listening to us talk are pretty big Florida State fans, and they all agree. You wonder where the hope is. And again, I don't want to kill the offense. The offense did put up 38 in regulation. They did score the first drive of overtime, barely, but they did. So those two turnovers were critical. Obviously, one was a touchdown, and the other one is just. I don't know why a senior would think that he's going to bowl after he's already gotten the first down. Would think to bowl into three people. I don't know what he's going to do. I don't know if it's a lack of respect. Like if those were Alabama defenders, would he have tried to run them all over? Or is he just thinking, well, they're Louisiana-Monroe. I'm a Florida State receiver. I'm going to bowl through these three guys. I'm going to get my second touchdown in my career. It just boggles the mind, like what the thinking is there to try to take on three guys and not realize that the guy that you just made miss the tackle will actually get up and try to tackle you again. And that's exactly what he did. He got up and tackled him from behind and stripped the ball. And that's not the biggest play of the game, but it's a huge one. When you're trying to get momentum back, you just have guys that do stuff like that rip helmets. You've just taken the lead in the fourth quarter late in the game, and you have a senior linebacker who can, that just decides he's going to rip the guy's helmet after a 2-yard gain. The first good play you made on defense in the second half, you're going to actually the crowd is actually loud. You're going to put some pressure on Louisiana-Monroe. And instead, you got a senior linebacker just jerking the guy's helmet, trying to wrench his neck for no reason. Give him 15 yards. So, whatever, man. That doesn't even count the two seniors that didn't play for, I assume, a violation of team rules. We know Logan Tyler. How bad is your season going when the punter is suspended? So Logan Tyler gets suspended. By the way, that the kid that the walk-on punter had to boom a punt with a minute left. I'll get into that in a minute. Why you're calling a timeout before that punt, but because of Logan Tyler doing whatever Logan Tyler did, a walk-on has to be counted on not only to boom that punt late in the game, which was the most pressure-packed punt he'd ever had, but also to hold on extra points and field goals in a game that actually came down to the final play. That's what Logan Tyler did to Florida State on Saturday. And Levante Taylor probably could have used him, but he wasn't available. He was he was in uniform, but he didn't play. So something happened there. So I don't know, man. I think Ira wrote about it in the 3-2-1. I think there's a chance you just say, man, we're going young. If Willie has his guys, quote unquote, he's trying to infuse the program with his guys. Let all those guys play. Let them all play, and just the seniors can just watch and decide if they want to keep going. I don't know. I know that's too harsh, but I've been watching Florida State football since 1982. This is the lowest moment. It's the lowest moment. After all that offseason of thinking, okay, it's going to change, you're feeling good about things, you blow that lead to Boise State, who turns out Friday night couldn't score on anyone. What a shocker. You blow that lead, and then you come out and you take a 21-0 lead over a paycheck team. They are simply here to get a paycheck. They want to get out of it without any injuries. They are ready to give up, but you won't let them, and you need an extra point in overtime to go celebrate like you just beat Auburn again. It's embarrassing. Where this program is right now is embarrassing. It wasn't great when Willie Taggart got here, and he said that he thought it was a step in the right direction on Saturday, but you and I both know that's not true, right? He was just saying that. He doesn't believe that. He has no idea where – I genuinely think he has no idea where this program is going, and I know everybody listening to this doesn't know.
I think he knows. I think he knows, and he's extremely apprehensive about it.
Yeah,
extremely. Well, kind of the point I was trying to make here with the offense, Corey, and so the offense has gotten better. He gave up control on that side of the ball, gave it an off season, gave it a retooling, And look at them now. They're 43rd in the nation in total offense, I think, as things stand right now. Granted, they haven't played a single Power 5 team, but Boise's a strong program, obviously, although they probably didn't really impress a lot of people with the way they played against Marshall on Friday night. But does he get another offseason now of, okay, we'll get rid of Harlan Barnett and we'll get you the best defensive coordinator that we can afford, and we'll continue on the path ahead with you leading us? Because it's worked for the offense, so you would think it could work for the defense. And I don't know if it's a question of does he deserve it, or is it a question of is that a practical matter, or is that the way you want to operate, where you're paying a guy $5 million a year and he really has not a lot of a hands-on influence of what you're doing on a game day?
If you had asked me that August 28th, I would have said, yeah, definitely he's going to get another year. And if the defense is not good, he'll get a chance to hire the best guy available. Because if you'd even asked me that on Friday, I'd have said, yeah, sure, because it has worked with the offense. The offense has plenty of warts. In those weird ice-cold stretches, they're going to start playing a lot better defenses. And it might start looking more and more like what we saw last season. I don't think it'll ever look that bad, but it could. I mean, we don't know. We'll see when they start playing this week, actually. But if they, watching that game, the reason I sound like this, the reason I wrote like I did after the game, the reason I talked on the video like I did after the game, is because watching that on Saturday makes me wonder, okay, where are the wins coming from? Like, there's no guaranteed wins on this schedule, save for Alabama State. So if Willie Taggart goes 3-9, and I'm only saying this, I guess I'm projecting. I know what I said last week, but I didn't think it was going to be this bad, number one, on Saturday. And I didn't want to be reactionary and take it week to week. I guess I'm talking from my point of, because when you step back, a 5-point loss to Boise it's not a bad loss. And you're like, okay, that's something to build on. Will this team be able to build on it? And then it looked just like they did last year against Samford. Lucky to win in the fourth quarter against a completely overmatched team who has no players on its roster that you would have ever dreamed of recruiting. So when you think about it that way, when you think about how the second half against Boise ended and how, the last 2.5 quarters went against Louisiana-Monroe, man, don't you think there's a realistic chance now that they go 3-9?
Oh, absolutely. It's like some of all fears is coming together right now. There's nothing guaranteed. There's no wins on the schedule outside of Alabama State that you feel. Is it Alabama A&M? Alabama State. Alabama State.
One of them. It's not Alabama.
Thankfully,
we know that. Thank the heavens.
So as bad as, actually, that's a whole other conversation I had this thing about the other day. The whole fact, like walking off the field in 2017 against Alabama, like what would you have thought? If Florida State in 2017, if DeAndre doesn't go down, if they would have played Alabama 10 times, how many times would you say Florida State could have beat Alabama? Just in that moment, that night, thinking about it, like not 10 weeks later when everything was completely on fire and smelling of.
Oh, the defense played so well that night. Maybe Hurts was that bad. I don't know, but the defense seemed to play so well. I thought it was not a coin flip. I would have said 3 out of 10.
Yeah, about 3 out of 10. In any realm of reality, does this team beat Clemson in Death Valley?
I guess here's my thinking. There is a chance. Let's just project it out that they go 3-9. And I'm not saying they're going to go 3-9. I was really disappointed about that game Saturday because you're supposed to make that huge leap from week 1 to week 2. And it sure looked like Florida State had made that for about a quarter and a half. And then it looked like the same Florida State of the last 15 to 20 games. Just kids not seeming to focus. They think they're better than they are. Just complete meltdown. So I'm projecting that watching that, if you have a hard time beating Louisiana-Monroe, you're going to have a hard time winning 5 games. Now, they did it last year. They won 5 games. They had a hard time beating Samford. I get it. So you have to imagine they're going to play better somewhere along the lines. But if they don't, if this is what they are, if this defense is the worst defense we've ever seen, then the best you're going to do is 4-8, maybe 5-7 again, which I would have thought was a possibility when the season started. But now I think it's a probability. And if that's the case, okay, are you going to satiate the fan base by saying we're just going to give them a new defensive coordinator and a new DBs coach? Is that going to matter? Or are people going to be done? That's, I think those are legitimate questions. I know I'm completely going against what I said last week, but desperate times call for desperate measures, folks. I would have never in a million years thought that game would go to overtime and they only won because of a missed extra point. I shouldn't say they only won. The only reason they go to second overtime is because of a missed extra point. And your defense had absolutely no answers. You could put Harlan Barnett on the moon. It's not going to matter where he's watching the game. It's not getting translated to this team right now. They can't, the 4-3, the 3-4, it seems like they go week to week, just throwing it up against the wall and seeing what happens. Same thing with kickoff returns. I thought they weren't going to return kicks this year. Didn't, Saturday night they returned all of them. So what is it? It just seems like they go the exact opposite. You run 3-4, I would guess 75% of the plays against Boise, and I would guess 80 to 85% of your snaps in the preseason. You have an awful game, and then it looked like you went majority 4-3. So what? I'm at a loss for words, Aslan. You talk.
Let's take a break. We'll be right back.
At Birch Orthodontics, they know what a difference a beautiful and healthy smile can make in your life.
They take the time to get to know you and perform a thorough exam so that they can make an individualized treatment plan just for you or your child.
They use the latest technology in a warm and comfortable environment. So whether you are interested in traditional metal or clear braces or clear aligners, they can give you the smile you deserve. They know investing in your smile means investing in your future. And at Birch Orthodontics, they are honored to be a part of your smile journey.
Serving Tallahassee for 16 years and supporting the Knolls since forever. Check them out at birchorthodontics.com. BURCH orthodontics.com. Welcome back to Wake Up War Champ presented by Zaxby's. I'm Aslan, Corey Clark here as well. Projecting out to the future, and you talking about not wanting to go against what you said last week and not being so reactionary. And I get it, Corey. Obviously, when you have to go down to the wire against a Sun Belt team at home, things change. You recalibrate. It's not flip-flopping. It's living in the moment and the reality of what you're facing. And you mentioned it, 3-9 is a probability, which is a crazy thing to say. But going into the season,
I think I meant a losing season. In my mind, a losing season right now is a probability.
But that wasn't the case with us. We said that this team we thought was more likely to probably win 10 games than they were to repeat what they did last season. That's how I felt. I thought they'd win 7 or 8, but if I had to guess, would they end up winning only 5, or would they somehow overshoot projections and go to 10? I would have said 10. I mean, would have you felt that same way before the Boise game kicked off?
It's hard to remember what was in my brain before the Boise game kicked off, buddy. I don't remember my kid's name anymore. I don't remember the way to work. It's all my brain is cloudy. It's clouded.
He's coming home soon, Brady. You'll get to see your dad soon. He's coming home. But yeah, it's looking at the schedule. Wake Forest is a good team. Their offense is literally top 10 right now. Their quarterback, Jamie Newman, is actually really good. They've got a pair of receivers, I think, that are over like 6. They got a kid that's 6'5", that's catching everything within the postal code of him. Louisville's made great strides in year 1 with their new head coach, which is crazy.
Well, we don't know that. We don't know that yet. Let's give that. That was one game, right? And they still end up losing by 20-something points. Let's see what they look like in game 2 and 3. But they certainly looked better. They
got dragged by Alabama in week 1 last year with Petrino. And now I know Notre Dame's not Alabama, but that was a playoff team last year, and they took them down to the wire to a certain extent. Well, this made it a 4-quarter game.
Yeah.
And I don't know who they played this past week, but they won 42-0 over, granted, Eastern Kentucky. But
hey, man, I know your question.
Would Florida State beat anybody 42-0 last year number 1 of Willie Taggart?
They certainly wouldn't hold anybody to 0 points this year.
Yeah, so, I mean, every game is all these, quote, coin flips. The coin is weighted on the heavy side, the L. The L is a lot heavier or lighter, however the aerodynamics work with flipping a coin and which one's going to fall on it. And then, I mean, to cut to the chase, I don't know how you keep your head football coach if you miss a bowl game for a second year in a row at a place that hadn't missed one in 36 years. I just don't know how you market that, how that's a positive move, how that increases belief, confidence of where the program's headed for the players. Even the players that committed to him, they're living this. They're enduring this. I'm sure they have their doubts as well. It would hurt them that if the guy that recruited them left and was dismissed. But I think they would understand, because I don't think anybody came here simply to play for Willie Taggart. I think they came to play for Willie Taggart and at Florida State and help get this thing back on track. I don't know how you can say this thing is back on track, moving in the right direction, even looking in the right direction. It's just all these things add up, I think. It's just not a tough program. The offense might be fixed. The defense isn't fixed. So, where does Willie fall in line with all this? Willie now isn't calling plays. How are you monitoring practice then? Your biggest things now are being a manager, managerial duties, overseeing things, offering advice. You're still playing the same crazy song to start practice, doing the same crazy drills. What baseball player would be mired in a slump, Corey, and have the same walk-up song? And I know that's a ridiculous thing, but you add the masks on top of it. Listen to the practice that we had last week when they went onto that 4-on-4 drill, the cackles coming from the players. That doesn't sound like guys that are focused, that are there to work hard, that realize what has to go in to becoming a winner. Your punter gets suspended. You come out for warm-ups, and I know it's 135 degrees out there, but you're not in your pads. You're not in your jersey. The other team is. It doesn't seem to affect them. They're not worried about it. It's in your head. Your coach has a weird impromptu press conference the week before, drinking out of a water bottle, thinking that he's funny, saying that everybody misquoted him, when in reality they really didn't misquote him when he says that we didn't do a good job of that hydration last week, which is a game they lost to Boise State. They thought at practice. You see that happen in Saturday's game when Asante Samuel thuds a guy instead of wrapping up, and the guy gets a third down conversion. They go and score later in that. The timeout. You're calling a timeout before a punt because you want to get everything set up so it doesn't get blocked. Why would they even try to block a punt? They don't need that. They don't need any gimmies. Louisiana-Monroe is going to run right through you. I mean, you're down a man coaching on the staff right now because you want to keep David Kelly. I mean, all these missteps, these are a lot of things that are just forks in the road that you've landed on the bad side of. And I just don't – for a guy who's been a head coach now for 10 years, I think, going on maybe 11th season as a head coach, that's why the Dabo comparisons to me have always been a little bit weird. Because, yeah, Dabo started off really rocky. Man, Dabo learned on the job. Clemson's his first head coaching job. This isn't Willie's first head coaching job. He's done this. He's been to places. He's changed them around or what have you. This doesn't look like it's trending in the right direction. So to me, there's a certain – this is culture, man. All these things I just mentioned, I think to me, that's culture. That's what you're setting the program up. That's the foundation you're practicing under and leading under. And none of it seems to result in a team that's going to be resilient or be able to bounce back strong against adversity or be able to finish this schedule against these slated teams with 7 more wins. I don't see it.
Well, so folks, you have two seemingly really angry hosts today, and I think we're preaching to the choir. I think most of you guys are angry, but in reality, it doesn't matter what Aslan and I think. It doesn't. It doesn't matter what we say. What do the players in the locker room think? Because apparently, you got two kids that just got suspended that are supposed to be team leaders. After the season they went through last year. And I know Logan's probably upset that he's not going to get to punt as much this year. But whatever the case may be, why ever he was mad, last year must have been a wonder for him. He got to punt. He got to run out there 12 times a game. So he doesn't get to do that much now. But that's a bad sign. It's a bad sign when you have a receiver who's coming off a 5-7 season. And again, I'm the president of the fan club, that puts a mask on for an interview and then goes and puts a mask on in the first quarter of a game. I wonder what those Boise State kids did on the flight back watching the replay of that game when they showed him putting on the mask. It makes him look like a buffoon. All of it. And he's not a buffoon, but it makes you look like a buffoon when you celebrate like that and then you go end up losing anyway. And you drop a pass a few minutes later from Akers. So there's a lot of reasons to be upset, to be frustrated. But what we think and what you guys think, it doesn't matter. What does the locker room think? What could they possibly have been thinking? What are Marvin Wilson and Cam Akers and those guys, James Blackman even, when they're walking to the field, having just survived that? They have to be thinking, man, we're in real trouble. And if they're thinking, man, we're in real trouble, they're not trusting their coaching staff. They're just not. You can't. It's really hard to do. You got to build up that trust. Willie Taggart has done a lot of things to build up trust around here. He really does care about what they do off the field. That does matter to him. I think he does care about them. But they also care about winning. And they only get to go to college once. Willie Taggart, no matter what happens here, is going to be in college football for the rest of his life. But these guys get one shot at it. Cam Akers has got 10 games left in his college career. So does Marvin Wilson. Maybe less if they're 2-6. So that's another thing you might have to worry about is your best player might come down with a hammy because he doesn't want to risk any future potential earnings on a 2-6 team. So this is what you're dealing with. And this is what Willie has to fight, not us. The outside noise doesn't matter. And Willie's always really good about that when he's asked about that. He's like, look, if you want them to say nice things about you, play better. All right, sure, great. But if you want your players to believe in you, you better coach better. And you better give them some sort of game plan and hope that things are going to get better, and specifically on the defensive side of the ball, because that is an abject failure right now. It's a train wreck. They have no idea what they're doing. That kid, number 86, the tight end.
Josh Pedersen.
Sure, my man. He's got his highlight reel now. Yeah. He's sending that to agents tomorrow. Like you cover someone one time. And I tell you what, if the kid doesn't drop the pass going down the sideline on that drive before overtime, Florida State loses that. Well, maybe the kid misses the kick, but Louisiana-Monroe was going to go down the field and get position to kick the game-winning field goal. That was a 20-yard gain where the kid dropped it and stepped out of bounds, or bobbled it and stepped out of bounds. Man, this is a real big week for Florida State, because there is a chance, and I'm of the opinion it's going to happen. I hope they prove me wrong. Hope they win the game. They might lose by 4 or 5 touchdowns. And if that happens, that might just be a wrap on the season. And if it's a wrap on the season, that might just be a wrap on the tenure. That's how big this game is. Seriously, I mean, Harlan Barnett, I don't know about that. I mean, he might not last through October. Don't know what good it'll do unless there's a free agent market where you can get some great players on it. But seriously, like if they go and lose to Virginia, if they badly, then man, you're at a point where I don't know if it's tenable to keep it going. Obviously you wouldn't. You hope he turns it around, and he might. I don't know. He's done it before, but through 2 games, it's hard to see how that's going to happen. Yeah. And it's just they're I hate to use this word because all of them would just beat the living bejesus out of me. I'm not saying they're soft individually. It's just a soft football team.
Well, it's not tough. How about that? You don't have to call it soft, but it's not tough. It's not a tough football team.
Mentally or physically on defense. Just not mentally for sure on offense too. Like they're great when things are going well. A minute you get a false start or you're 2nd and 9 or you don't pick up that first 3rd down, oh, well, let's take the next 2 quarters off. But so they're mentally not great on offense. But the whole team just other than number 3, and some play Tamorian Terry with the way he blocks, they're just it's lacking. There's not Florida State toughness anywhere in that roster. And how does it get there when you have seniors getting suspended or not playing or fumbling in front of 3 guys? I mean, are getting ridiculous personal fouls? Where does that leadership come from? Where does that toughness come from?
So I guess to that point, as we wind things down here, and I'm sorry for being on my soapbox earlier. So like, what can be fixed? I mean, right? Is it a Hail Mary right now? Is it Willie? Because listen, this thing was completely a disaster. Obviously, last season when they were heading into games like Notre Dame, Boston College, Florida. But they came out in the Notre Dame game. They were prancing around pregame. They were jacked up. They were waving their hands, wanting the crowd to make noise. They were ready for the moment. Like they were ready. They were not scared. And then obviously it didn't work out in their favor clearly. So I don't doubt Willie's ability to motivate these guys. But the thing that comes in is like the toughness. You throw a pick on your first drive against Notre Dame, and after all that crowing, there's no more fight left in you. So I'm sure they're going to come out and they realize their backs are against the wall going into Virginia. I mean, they realize it's a conference opener. It's on the road, night game. I think Virginia, are they ranked? Or did they slide in at number 25 on the poll?
I believe they did. Maybe 24.
So, like, all these things are adding up, and I don't doubt Willie's ability to continue to have these guys play, to at least motivate them to come out and be excited for the opportunity. Now, I don't know if they're going to come out and play hard because it's I just said I don't think this is a tough-minded sort of football team, so I don't doubt that. But when, again, something goes wrong in a game like this, like how many more opportunities does he have left to really get this thing going? So this does feel like a flashpoint kind of game for them, because if they can somehow, I don't know, get motivated and play out of their mind, but that's, I mean, I'm trying to tell you, even if they play out of their mind for one half, what's the chance that they'll sustain that for 60 minutes? Because we haven't seen it. So I don't like. I'm trying to think of what is your path for victory, other than, like you said, lightning and locusts, which was a great line, by the way, in your column. Huge.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate that. If you haven't read my column, folks, go read it. If you think I'm a great talker, holy moly, woo, unbelievable with the words, with the fingers, with the typewriter. And there is a chance, man. Maybe this was a wake up call. I don't know what they can do defensively. I don't know. I don't know if you just sell out and say, we're blitzing 7 every time. You're not going to run on us. We're doing run blitzes every play.
They did, though, Corey. Like, they were aggressive, and they only got 1 sack on Louisiana-Monroe.
No, I'm not even talking about sacks. I'm talking about run blitzes. Like, we're rushing 3 linebackers. We're filling all the gaps immediately, because we can't use this defense and stop anyone from running straight up the gut. Even with an NFL player in the middle there, we can't do it. So we have to sell out to stop the run. That's what you do. And you're going to give up some big plays through the air. Sure, fine, got it. But I don't know what else to do defensively. I don't know if there are any answers. I don't believe that the defensive coordinator, if there were, would be able to find them. But I'm saying I don't think there are, because I don't think that's on the roster. I don't think the roster's made up correctly. I don't think they get coached correctly. There's a lot of problems. But with that defense being so bad, that's the problem. I think the offense is going to continually get better. I think the offense might play pretty well at Virginia. I don't think they're going to score 40 points. But what would be a good showing at Virginia at night on the road with a team that has been so bad offensively for 2 years? I think you're looking like 30 points would be a really nice showing.
Yeah.
Really nice.
Yeah.
You'd lose by 2 touchdowns. That's the problem. In my opinion, I mean, that's the problem right now. But maybe there's some magical elixir. And I hate to be so negative, because we are in only game 2. Teams do get better. There have been teams that have suffered embarrassing Michigan lost to Appalachian State at home. Now, that was a very good FCS team. But that year, I know that's a big famous story and a big famous game. Well, I think Michigan State ended up going like 9-3 that year. They won like their last 9 or 10 games. I think they beat Tebow in a bowl game that year. So things can turn around. You can fix things, but it's got to happen now, because if you go up to Virginia and play like you have the last 2 weeks, you're going to lose badly, and then you're going to have 2 home games where nobody's going to show up, and then after that you get Clemson on the road where they could score 100. So that's why I think this is such a huge week. Because if you don't see massive improvements here, I think that I don't know how you turn the corner. I don't know how you bounce back. I don't know how you rally and save the season. I just don't, because I think these kids, because they're not used to winning, they're used to losing. It's a normal feeling for them. It doesn't bother them as much as, like, imagine like the locker room after the 2012 NC State game or any of the wide rights. Those players were devastated, because they didn't know that feeling, and they put so much into it. I don't know, man. If they go and lose to Virginia and lose by 26 points, are they going to be devastated, or is it just going to be, well, it's another Saturday? It's kind of what we do, because it is what they do. They're 13-14 in the last 27 games. That's exactly what they do. They're a losing program right now. 10-14 against. I guess now I'm sorry. They're 11-14 in their last 25 games against FBS opponents. That one counted as a win. So, just not a lot of hope right now. Hopefully there will be. Hopefully we'll see something. Cam Akers was awesome. I mean, having to have 36 carries against Louisiana-Monroe and carrying them to the win, good for him. I'm proud. I'm glad he did that. That was fun to watch. It's a shame he hasn't gotten to be on better teams throughout his career here. And then one last thing from me is, if anybody watched the video of the post-game press conference, I asked about it. I tweeted about it as it happened, because I was dumbfounded, genuinely dumbfounded. You don't call a timeout to make sure your punt doesn't get blocked. I know you have and if you are going to do that,
Yeah, there's a right and a wrong way to do it, Corey. Can you tell us the right way?
So the right way to do it is, obviously you think if you call a timeout there, you're going to go for it. There's no other reason to do it. But if you are going to call a timeout because you want to get all your blocking formation right, you don't call it as soon as the last play is over and there's 32 on the play clock. You let the play clock run down to 1, then you call the timeout, and then there's 30-something seconds left in the game. That's when you do it. Mm-hmm. But what you did was you saved Louisiana-Monroe a timeout, and no, you saved them a timeout. You called a timeout to punt on 4th and 4 at your own 32-yard line. You had called a timeout before after the second down play, which I thought was bizarre too, but not nearly as bizarre as calling it after the third down play, because all you did was let Louisiana-Monroe hold on to one of their timeouts, and they mismanaged it there at the end. I thought they got way too conservative. Louisiana-Monroe did there in the final minute. I don't know why they weren't just trying to go win the game. And so Willie got bailed out, but that's inexplicable. It's inexplicable game management. And it's so inexplicable that, when I tweeted about it, that it's so inexplicable that the broadcasters on the TV crew assumed that it was an injury timeout. And the referees must have made them call a timeout because somebody got injured. So I deleted my tweet where I was like, why would Willie Taggart call a timeout in a tie game to punt to save Louisiana-Monroe a timeout? And then find out, that's why I asked Willie in the press conference to clarify, were you made to call a timeout? And that's when he explained it. No, I wanted to make sure we got our punt coverage, our punt coverage unit squared away, which is fine. Again, you have a backup punter, so I understand that. But you don't call the timeout with 32 seconds left. That's just mind-boggling. And I think it's so mind-boggling that there's a chance that he forgot what down it was. And there's no way he would admit that. I would never want him to. That would be the end. If he admitted in game 2 of his second year that he forgot what down it was. You just couldn't do it. There's no way you could say that, even if that's the case. But I hope it was the case, because that happens. I get it. It's the flow of the game. It shouldn't. He's been coaching long enough, but that stuff happens. That wouldn't be nearly as concerning as thinking that strategy to call a timeout with 32 seconds left is the sound strategy to make. It's just one little thing, but it could have been a loss that could have led to a loss. And then also you get the ball back with 10 seconds left with no timeouts, maybe even have a timeout. I don't know. Who could know at this point? You deep in your own territory. You don't even have a punt returner back there, because you know that if you don't block the punt, the game's going overtime. Yet you still hand the ball off and run 2 plays. Don't throw it downfield. Just give it to the guy that's carried you for 4 quarters, who might be a little tired and who also fumbled last week. Mm-hmm. And just have him run. He didn't even want to do it. You saw him kind of just jog to the sideline. Like that stuff like that. And I don't know if that's Briles or Taggart. That's inexplicable. It's inexplicable. And, these guys get paid a lot of money. I don't. I shouldn't know more how to handle at the end of a game than they do. This is their livelihood. This is what they get paid to do. You can't call a timeout to punt with 30 on the play clock. You got tackled in bounds. The clock was running. Let it run. How do you anyway? So that's not even close to the biggest problems this program has right now. But a cynic might say it's indicative of some things. And either way, it was just troubling. And like I said, I hope that it was just that he forgot the down, because that's better than the alternative. So anyway, other than that, big win, 1-1. They had to take their candy asses back to Monroe, Louisiana, with a loss. In all seriousness, I feel really bad for that kicker. Absolutely. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel really bad. Absolutely. I think he might have felt worse than Willie after that game. And probably. I don't think anybody could feel worse than Willie, but he might have, because that was man, that's tough. And he made the kick to tie the game at 38. So it's not like he didn't handle that pressure. So that was I felt really bad for that kid. But hey, you know what? I'd rather cover a winning program than a losing one, buddy. So I appreciate it.
All that said, I mean, I'm trying to look it up here, and as you try to gracefully get us out of here, I've seen the line on the game only at 7 or 8 points, which is great. So you would probably think that everyone listening to this probably thinks we're crazy that we're talking in these tones about a team that's walking into a quality matchup against a quality team on the road, but they're only a one-possession underdog. Does Vegas know something that we don't, Corey?
Man, I think Vegas has been fooled by – what's Florida State against the spread the last 3 years? I feel like they've just been fooled by Florida State the whole time, and they're just making money on people. Or maybe they know that the Florida State brand, people are going to bet it up or maybe even bet it down. I don't know. That line doesn't make sense to me. I would have set it at 14. That's bizarre. But, yes, they usually do know what they're doing, and I don't think it's going to fluctuate that wildly. So – maybe they're on to something. Maybe they know that maybe Florida State's been kind of laying in the cut a little bit, setting Virginia up. Those first 2 games, let's be honest, Aslan, they weren't even conference games. They didn't matter.
Yeah.
Florida State's playing possum. They know the real season starts this week. And if they're going to get to the ACC championship game, it starts in Charlottesville on Saturday night. So why show Virginia any of the looks you've actually been working on in the preseason? Like all this stuff they've been doing the last 2 weeks, these 190 plays they've been on the field, that's just stuff they come together. They just decide in the huddle. The stuff they really work on each week in practice in the month of August, that's all the stuff you're going to see on Saturday night. It's about to be unleashed. A little playing possum, Seminole style. You buy it? You down for it? You ready?
All in. Let's go. On to Virginia. He's Corey Hamazon. Thanks so much for listening. We're going to go talk to Willie. Have a great day, everybody.
WarChant.com is the ultimate inside source for FSU football and recruiting. And now you can get in on the action for free for an entire month. WarChant.com is offering a risk-free 30-day trial subscription. Get full access to the #1 website covering the Seminoles just by entering the promo code WarChant30. That's WarChant30. Sign up and get in on the world's most active FSU message boards. Receive breaking news, stories from our award-winning staff, plus get exclusive interviews and videos. Just enter the promo code WarChant30. WarChant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source.